Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is my review for American Horror Story Freak Show, episode 9. No, yeah, this was episode 9. Episode 9, Tupperware Party Massacre. And I was definitely very looking forward to this episode. Last week's episode was amazing. It was just so well written. The way they had the balls to kill off two huge characters was amazing. And I couldn't wait to see what they were going to do. With major props to the show because of that. And after watching this episode, guys, I'm scared for this show. I really am. This was probably the most disappointing episode so far. I really wanted to love this episode, but I didn't. And I really feel that American Horror Story is getting on that path where it's gonna get weird, okay? This episode was probably one of the weirdest things I've seen the American Horror Story ever do. There were so many things this episode that did not make any sense whatsoever. And honestly, after this episode, the only thing I'm really into is Dandy. Dandy's storyline, I think, is amazing. I think they're doing a great job with it. But besides Dandy, I'm really not that into it. And they kind of ruined a couple characters for me in this episode, which I want to talk about. But let's just get this episode because I really wanted to like it. Also, this did not feel like the last episode before the mid-season finale. Like, it didn't. The cliffhanger, yes. The cliffhanger was probably the best cliffhanger they've done so far. But it did not feel like the last episode before the mid-season finale. It just did not. It's that simple. It didn't feel that way. So, let's just get to this episode. I did enjoy it, but it had a lot of problems. So, we start off with Dandy. He visits the freak show and meets with Maggie. And when he met with Maggie, I'm like, alright, I like what they're doing here. They're going to make her character more interesting. So if you guys don't know, I hate Maggie. I think she is a completely wooden character. I think she is only here because they wanted Emma Roberts to have a romance with Evan Peters so we could see what kind of chemistry they had. I understand that they did that, but her character is terrible. I have no interest in her whatsoever. And I thought this was going to make her character, like, more interesting here. And she thinks his voice sounds familiar because, of course, when he was with Twisty, he was the second clown, you know, when they got kidnapped. And he then tells her that he's hurt someone very bad, and the person that he's counting on for help no longer can. And Maggie figures that Danny is worried that this time he'll have to pay, and she looks into her crystal ball to see Danny's past. So we then see an Avon sales lady arrives at the mod house, and Danny invites her in. This is just after he has killed Gloria, and this was amazingly well done. Finn Wittrock just killing it in this role. He is doing an amazing job, and he's saving the season for me, okay? He really is. If Finn Wittrock was not in this season, I don't think I'd be liking this season as much. He invites her in saying that his mother would have some company, and then clubs her to death. And once he decapitates her, this is like the most fucked up thing of them all. He strings his mother's corpse up, attaches the sales lady's head to her, and pretends that she's Don Bet, and basically has like a puppet show. One of the weirdest puppet show things I've ever seen, and it's really fucked up, but it's very well done storyline. I mean, it makes sense why he's doing it. We know Dandy loves theater. We know he's into that. That's his passion. So for him to do that really does not surprise me, because that's what he loves to do. He loves to perform, and even with something as fucked up as what he did, he loves to perform. That's what he likes to do. So Maggie tells Danny that his discretion will soon be forgotten. He asks about his past, and Maggie says that there's a dark cloud on his horizon, but it will soon pass. I'm relieved Danny calls Maggie his savior, pays her $100. However, as she takes the money, Danny grabs her hand, tells her that it would be a shame for her to waste her powers. He lets her go after a moment and leaves. And when he let her go, when he let it go and left, I'm like, no! Because I was really hoping that they would have some really good thing that they do with Maggie, with her and Danny working together. I really liked it when Maggie we didn't know if she was bad or good, but now she's like, now that they're writing her as like the best person ever, I'm really upset about that because her character's not interesting anymore. And literally, that's just how her character is. She has no arc whatsoever. She's had no arc. We've known nothing about her. And I don't know if they're planning on doing more with her in the second half, but I'm sorry. But if there was anyone I want to die on the show right now more than anyone, it is Maggie. Let's get to the stuff that really annoyed me the most in this episode. We go to Jimmy. He is now drunk, of course, because of Ethel's death and everything. We see him grieving over Ethel's death. But what I didn't like with this is that, honestly, Jimmy has no purpose on the show anymore. He's feeding Barbara, Paul and Eve are watching, they're complaining that he hasn't, been helping them look for the Tattlers, and I like the way they're writing Jimmy at this point. It seemed like they were writing him as someone who has been very, very affected by his mother's death, very affected by it. I understand that they did that. And this next scene I thought was awesome. Danny goes by whistling. Jimmy runs after him, demands to know where the twins are. Danny says that he doesn't know where they are, but Jimmy says that he knows Danny was the second clown, and I love that Jimmy said that to me, because I'm like, yes, you need to tell him that. He throws a punch at him, he misses, falls to the ground as Paul and Eve walk off, and Danny tells Jimmy that he'll have his revenge on him for depriving him of the Tattlers, and promises to destroy everything that Jimmy loves. Problem is, this goes away. We don't see anything with this for, the rest of the episode, and that really disappointed me, because honestly, if this whole storyline was just a battle between Danny and Jimmy, I'd be loving it, but that's not what it is. Really, what this focused on was really uninteresting stuff, and really what this whole episode focused on was really uninteresting stuff. Nothing really was that interesting. We see Elsa and Stanley. We don't know what happened to Dot and Bet, obviously. We know that Ethel kidnapped them. We don't know where she took them. They finally track them down to a motel in West Palm Beach, and Ethel has, hidden them there. Stanley claims that the entire town, they have no idea where Ethel is. They're freaking out and everything. And Stanley's claiming that the entire town is turned against the freaks, killing Ethel and tearing her head off. But the Tattlers are unaware that Elsa found them by checking Ethel's notes after she killed her. And when Dot says that she doesn't trust Elsa, Elsa says that the doctor who separated the Brody twins is on his way to separate them. Now, I do like this storyline. I think this is a well-done storyline. I like what they're doing with it. But that's not really what this episode focuses on. What this episode focuses on is really uninteresting stuff, definitely. And we're going to talk about some of the more interesting stuff that it talks about. We go to the camp, and Desiree and Maggie, who I loved Desiree in the last episode. I thought she was great. By the way, we don't get anything in the Penny plot, which I was kind of upset about, because I actually really do like that plot. And a lot of people think it's not a good plot, but I personally think it's a really fun plot. I enjoy it a lot. So, Desiree and Maggie, they're still on their search for the Tattlers, and a man, Angus T. Jefferson, approaches Desiree, and he says he came to see her, and he insists they have a rendezvous, and Desiree tells Maggie to go on, and she reluctantly leaves, and Desiree tells Angus to get hold of himself. Then she goes after Maggie and explains that Angus is her boyfriend and tells her to keep her secret, to keep him secret, basically. And I thought there was an interesting twist that we found that out, that she's dating someone against Del's back, because as we know, she does not like Del. And then we get to the first, really weird scene of this episode. Maggie goes into a tent, and there's Barbara and Jimmy having sex. I understand Jimmy is trying to grieve the death of his mother. I understand that. He's upset that Ethel died, and Barbara was there for him. But this was ridiculous. I'm sorry. This was ridiculous. I could not take this scene seriously. I find it pointless what they're doing here. And honestly, all this is a love triangle, which this show does not need. Every single season, except for Asylum, the show has tried to do... I think Asylum even did it. This show has tried to do a love triangle. Every single season they've done it, and it's not working. It's not working, okay? It didn't work in Coven. It's sure as hell, it does not belong in Freak Show, okay? Coven it sort of worked in, but it does not belong in Freak Show, okay? This is not working at all. Maggie turns to go, saying Jimmy won't put in anyone. He takes offense, but then Maggie's begging him to stay and everything. Maggie slaps him. Barbara threatens her while Jimmy throws up and everything. And just... I didn't care. I didn't care about any of this. I thought it was stupid, honestly. I thought it was ridiculous that they did this. Honestly, the plot with this should have just been Jimmy versus Dandy. If Jimmy really cares about finding the twins, then find them! I understand he's drunk and he has problems with that, but that's it. It focuses on the uninteresting stuff, and it really got me upset. It did. Okay, this is not a rant, guys, but this episode kind of just got me upset. So we see in town, Sylvia's holding another Tupperware party, which is why this episode is called Tupperware Party Massacre. She comes into the living room and complains that Jimmy is drunk and keeps missing. Jimmy staggers in, and I like this scene a lot. I thought this was well done. He's hallucinating Ethel, and she's saying that he's disgusting, and he goes to her, and she's basically telling him that he is becoming like Del. Now, I like that story. I think that's cool to watch. And it does make sense. And one of the things I did like is that in Test of Strength, they kind of foreshadowed drunk Jimmy. But the thing was, like, this Jimmy is so different than the drunk Jimmy we saw in Test of Strength. Test of Strength, we saw a lot more fun-loving Jimmy, and I understand he's trying to get over the death of his mother, but it's inconsistent writing and it doesn't make sense. So, she tells the woman that she wastes her life on another drunk, and Jimmy hallucinates them agreeing. He then finally realizes that Ethel isn't there, staggers out crying. The ladies are preparing to eat. There's a knock at the door, and it's Dandy, who compliments Sylvia and then says that he needs to call the auto club because his car broke down. And, you know, Dandy's acting like a gentleman and everything. It honestly is very creepy. And I thought that was, you know, the second he said that, I'm like, okay, he's gonna do something. And one of the things that they're writing about Danny is, as I said, he can go in his own direction. He can do whatever the hell he wants now because his mother's gone. So I was very interested in seeing what his direction was gonna be, and I was very surprised by how far they really took it. So at the camp, we go back to the camp, and Elsa complains that Stanley wants to help her murder the twins, and he sympathizes and says that's the best way to send them off in style, and he claims that he actually called the doctor, Sugar, to separate them, and Dawn and Bet are separated, they have their own lives, and then Elsa can go to Hollywood. That's basically their plan. You know, that's what he wants to do, pretty much. Of course, we know that he wants to kill her, but Stanley and Elsa take the Tylers to the barn. They explain that they'll stay there until the doctor arrives, and that's basically going to be the plan. So they're not going to kill them. They are going to separate them, but I don't believe a thing that Stanley says. So Elsa and Stanley tell the Tattlers that Sugar will examine them at the barn, and then they'll be taken to the hospital secretly for the operation. Dot insists on having her chance for freedom as a normal woman, but Beth says that she won't do it. Stanley says that he has to get Dr. Sugar at the train station, and Elsa goes with him. And, so that's basically, you know, what happens there. So Sylvia's husband comes home, starts complaining that his wife's friends parked in the driveway. He finally realizes that none of them are there, goes to the pole, finds them stabbed. This scene was just holy shit. I mean, this is probably the most disturbing scene we've seen of Dandy so far. He goes to the pool. He sees them all stabbed to death. They're thrown in a pool. There's a pool of blood everywhere, and he's killed every single one of them. Danny has killed every single one of them, and just, that is amazing writing right there. I mean, that is what I call an amazing, shocking scene, and the way they portrayed that was so well done, in my opinion. And again, if this show was just about Dandy, I'd love it, because everything with Dandy is amazing. There's nothing wrong with Dandy's plot, except for one thing that I do want to talk about. At the mod house, Danny's in the playroom, pouring more blood into the bathtub. You know, he's doing the whole bloodbath thing again, and Regina comes in and says that she's been to the cops to find Dora. Now, of course, I was very interested in seeing what Dandy was going to do with Regina, because I didn't know what he was going to do with her, because now that his mother's dead, he can do whatever he wants with her, and I honestly thought he was just going to, you know, kill her right there. But and I love it, he's like, oh, I killed your mother, and you know, he's like, oh, I killed your mother weeks ago, and he's like laughing about the whole thing. I mean, I loved how calm and, you know, how he thought it was, like, even funny that he did it. And it's really showing Danny's true colors, which I definitely really like. And he really is a fantastic villain. And, in my opinion, probably the best show that the best character American Horror Story has ever had. Really, he is. He then says that they buried Dora weeks ago, and the blood is from his mother. And, you know, he's like, oh, the blood's not from Dora, it's from my mother. I killed her, and he's like, I killed her a few short hours ago. I thought that was kind of funny, the way he was saying it. I honestly thought that was pretty funny, actually. Like, the way he was just like, oh, you know, I killed my mother a few hours ago. I thought that was pretty funny. But, obviously, Regina's freaking out. She has no idea what to do. Danny blocks it, explains how he is living his destiny. He insists he's finally happy and asks Regina to take a bath with him. This is extremely creepy. Takes off his robe, asks when she knew about his destiny. I thought he was gonna, like, rape her. I thought that's how far he was gonna take this. It seemed like that's what he was going to do. I mean, he took off his bathrobe, like, he's completely naked in front of her. It looked like he was going to rape her, but he tells Regina that she's the only interesting person in the house worth a damn and doesn't want to kill her. You know, he doesn't want her, you know, to die. But Regina refuses. She doesn't want to do anything that he says, so he pounds the wall on the other side of her head, and then orders her out, screaming that he's like, I'm a god, I'm the law, and I thought that was hilarious, that he's just like, he thinks he's the law. Like, dude, you're not the law, okay? You're just a person who has a lot of control, and you think you're better than you actually are. So then we get what is probably the best scene we have gotten with Ben Dot so far. I thought this scene was amazing, I loved it, and just, I thought this was fantastic. So At the barn, Bet asks Dot if she's mad at her. She knows that one of them can't survive the surgery, and what I loved about this was that we have seen Bet being portrayed recently as kind of like self-centered. It was cool to see Bet kind of have some genuine compassion for Dot. It's, some people say it came out of nowhere, but honestly it's just character development. It shows that she really does care about her. So Dot says that she's tired of their life together. Dot doesn't want Bet dead, but she wants a separate life. And Bet reminds her that they've always managed to work things out by working together, and considers their life together a gift. She offers her hand, and after a moment, Dot takes it. Bet says that she has the same longing to be on her own, but admits that she couldn't stand to be alone. She accepts that she would give her life so that Bet can have one, crying. Dot says that she loves her sister, and Bet says that she loves her, and I thought that was a great scene. Very, very good character development there. That scene honestly made me cry a little bit. I was tearing up a little bit at that scene. I thought that was a very well done scene, and I'm like, it's a pretty mediocre episode, but I'm enjoying that scene. I thought that was well done, especially because we haven't seen a lot of focus on Ben Dot for a while. The last, really big focus we saw on them was Bullseye. Bullseye was, the last time we saw... Actually, no, it wasn't Bullseye. The last time we saw a lot of focus on them, I'd say, was probably either Test of Strength or Pink Cupcakes. That was really the last time we saw a lot of focus on them. So... I will say I don't like the way they're starting to write this show. It seems like what they're doing is that they have certain storylines in one episode, then they'll do this storyline every other episode. I don't like that they're doing that. And then we get what in my mind is the most I don't like this plot at all. I think this plot is ridiculous. I think what's going on here is ridiculous. I'm not a fan of this at all. It's boring and I didn't care about this. Del is trying to write a note to Desiree. When he can, he tries to write a letter to Jimmy, calling him his son. The previous night, he's walking down the road drinking. Stanley pulls up, and this is just ridiculous. I'm sorry. This is ridiculous. He tells Del that Andrew isn't coming back and tells the strongman to pull himself together. Of course, Del liked Andrew. He had a crush on that guy. And Del managed to pull himself together, and he doesn't want to admit that he has these, sexual feelings. I think that's interesting. But Stanley pulls out his dick, and basically we find out he has, the biggest dick ever. I don't care! I don't care about this at all. Do I really give a shit that Stanley is, the biggest dick ever? I don't care about it at all. I think it's a stupid storyline, and I don't care. I do like what they decided to do with Del here. I just don't like the way they execute it. The fact that they're using Stanley to do this, I think is ridiculous. The only reason they have Dennis O'Hare in this season is because Dennis O'Hare has been in, it was in last season. He was an amazing character. This season, I do not like his character at all, and honestly, they've destroyed his character. I'm sorry. They've destroyed his character. I'm not into his character anymore, and I do like what they're doing with Del, though. I thought this was well done. Del finishes the letter saying that he can't go on. He looks at the news that he's hung up, and I'm like, he's gonna kill himself. Now, I pretty much thought he was going to, because this is the point of American Horror Story where they start killing people left and right. They killed, 2 people last week, so I thought they were gonna do it, but he tells Ethel that he's made up his mind. Ethel says that she's there to watch. Ethel calls him a coward, and Del admits that he can't take being a freak. He wonders how Ethel and the others do it. She points out that they don't have a choice because they can't hide what they are, and Ethel tells Del that he's weak and to go ahead and kill himself. And he steps onto a chair, puts the noose around his neck, kicks the chair away, and I thought this was very well done because it actually shows what happens when he sort of is his vision goes, terrible and everything, gets blurry, and he basically realizes that he doesn't want to do it. Desiree arrives and kind of stops him, and I like what the scene is trying to show. It's trying to show that I think Desiree is now actually going to try to help Del. Now, if Del tells her that he's having these sexual feelings and everything, and he's having these, homosexual feelings, and that he's actually, homosexual and has these feelings, I don't think he's homosexual. I think he's bi. I don't know. I kind of feel like he's bi. I don't know. I definitely feel he's homosexual because of, that's why he liked Desiree, because of her having, possibly having a dick, and that's also why he liked, Kathy Bates' Ethel, because she had a beard. And if he tells her that he has these feelings, then I think she'll understand. And I think what this is trying to show is that Desiree and Del are going to fix things. Stanley then meets up with some, the doctor, and they have sex and everything. I don't care about that. I thought it was stupid. I thought it was pointless. I didn't give a shit about any of that. And this really is just wasting so much more great airtime we could have had for Jimmy and Dandy showdown. I was hoping for more with Jimmy and Danny's plot, and we've seen none of that. I don't like the way they're handling it at all. It's the same exact way they handled it in episode 7, and I wasn't a fan of it. In episode 7, what they did was they had that one big scene with Jimmy and Dandy, and then they completely forgot about it for the rest of the episode, and I thought that was ridiculous. So, Regina then returns to the manor with Detective Colgate, and Danny invites him in, assuring Colgate that he has nothing to hide. He pours Colgate a drink, and the detectives ask to see Gloria, and of course they have no idea Gloria is dead. Danny says that Regina doesn't lie, so he must be a murderer. However, he warns Colgate that his family fortune is enough to ensure that he'll never be convicted, and Danny tells Colgate that he's seen the face of God. When Colgate reaches for his gun, Danny says that there's nothing that can stop him now. He offers Colgate $1 million cash if he kills Regina, and he just shoots her. He kills her, and he asks for a shovel. And I was surprised that he just, shot her right then and there. I know Gabrielle Sibay's character was only supposed to be on for a certain amount of episodes, but the fact that they just killed her so easily, I don't know if I really like that. I didn't. I wanted her to stick around for a little bit and, maybe see what she was going to do. Maybe just kill her off next week, but I didn't think they were going to do that. I kind of thought it was kind of pointless. I don't know. I felt like it was. I understand it's trying to show what kind of man Dandy is, but still, I thought it was kind of pointless. So, that night at the freak show, Jimmy finds Eve taking down the banner of Bon Appetit. He orders Eve away, then grabs a bottle, starts drinking again. He goes back to his caravan, finds the Towlers waiting for him, and this scene was ridiculous. I'm sorry. This was ridiculous. Dot says that she was a problem, not Bet, and they belong together as a family. Jimmy says that family doesn't stay, and Dot takes his hand, assures him that he'll never have to be alone again. He wonders what she means. Dot says that she's been in love since she first saw him, and she takes off her robe and tells Jimmy that he's just like them, offers to replace his pain with love. This scene was just weird. I'm sorry. This was weird. Okay? This came out of nowhere. I understand that Dot has feelings for Jimmy, but again, the only thing they're doing with Jimmy, it seems, is just putting him in romantic storyline after romantic storyline. First, it seemed like he was going to be in this relationship with Maggie. Then it seemed like it was going to be Dot. It seemed like, he was going to be with Maggie, but he really was in love with Dot. That's what I thought they were setting up. But now that they have Barbara, now it seems like he wants to do something with Barbara, maybe wants to start a relationship with her, and now it seems like he's going back to Maggie. So I don't know what they're doing with Jimmy. I'm not a fan of him anymore. Evan Peters is still a very good actor, but what you're giving him, he's more capable of than what you're giving him. He's more capable of much better storylines than this. No, he's not as bad as Kyle. Kyle was a terrible character. Jimmy, though, just has nothing to do now. He doesn't. He's just in romantic plot after romantic plot, and I'm not a fan of it. And basically, Dot kisses Jimmy, he starts to kiss her back, but then pushes her away, and it seemed like they were going to have a threesome. It seemed like that's what was going to happen here. Dot says that there are 2 souls and 2 mouths devoted to him. Jimmy finally says that he cares about both of them, but he can't be with them and puts their robe back on. He then tells them that he's in love with someone else, and a crying Dot says that they have to go. And as they leave, Bet takes Dot's hand in a gesture of support, and I love the way this episode ends. The way this episode ends makes me a little bit more hopeful for the show, because what they do, I loved. As I said, we didn't really get to see a lot of the Jimmy and Danny stuff, and I was very happy with the way the episode ended, because Jimmy grabs a bottle, starts to drink, throws it away, screaming. I don't really care that Jimmy is just drunk. I don't care. I understand that Jimmy's going to become Del. I understand that. I felt like they just focused on that way too much. It seemed like they keep reminding us every few seconds, Jimmy's drunk, Jimmy's drunk, Jimmy's drunk. They just kept reminding us of it, and it honestly just really got annoying. I wasn't a fan of that. So, police car, this is the end of the episode. We hear a police car pulling up front. Colgate puts him under arrest for the murders of everyone that Danny just killed. All the girls, all the women that Danny just killed. Jimmy is being framed for it, and Jimmy framed Dandy. Dandy framed Jimmy, and Maggie says that Jimmy was with her all day. Colgate ignores her, drives off, and I thought that was a very well-done cliffhanger. I love that. I love it that happened. I wish the whole episode was like that, but it wasn't. And honestly, guys, let me talk about what I think is wrong with the show now. They are focusing on the wrong storylines. They are. I don't care about the romantic stuff. I understand this is supposed to be a more emotional season. I like that. Scenes like the scene with Ben and Dot showed that, and I thought that scene was very well done. But my problem with this episode is that they're not focusing on what they should be focusing on. I don't care about Stanley's love life. I don't care about Stanley and Del, and Stanley having like a huge dick and him like making Del kill himself. If they would have just cut that out and made Del kill himself because he's grieving over Ma Petite and Andrew, and grieving over these feelings he has for everything, I would have understood that. And I understand, yes, Stanley told Del to kill Ma Petite, but I don't like the fact that he's, basically just there to just be intimidating, because he's not intimidating. I'm sorry, Stanley's not intimidating. When you have a character like Dandy, Stanley is not intimidating at all, and I don't care about his character. Maggie needs to get off the show right now. I don't give two shits about her. I want her gone. She's ruining the show for me. I don't like her. Jimmy, I'm sorry. I'm upset that I'm really getting upset. I don't like his character as much anymore. I said when in the beginning of the season, I loved his character. What his character was originally supposed to do, that I thought what they were going to do. I thought they were going to use Jimmy as someone who was going to help the freaks be treated as humans and not like freaks. And we haven't seen that, I'd say, since like maybe episode 2. I mean, that was really the last time we saw Jimmy do something like that. And I hate that American Horror Story just abandons plots. And that's a perfect example of a plot they abandoned that could have been really well done. I really wish they would have just used Jimmy to basically just defend the freaks. I mean, I understand they put him in this relationship, but when they put him into a relationship with Maggie, that became his storyline, okay? That's really all he did. And ever since episode 4, that's all he's done. And I understand this whole Jimmy and Danny feud is going on. I want to see more of it. I want to see more of the Jimmy and Danny feud. I like that the most. That's what I like most about Jimmy. I don't want to see him drunk all the time, hopeless over. I don't want to see him go from woman to woman and not know what the hell he's doing. I don't care about his love life. You can do that, but have that as like a side plot. I really want the main focus to be Jimmy versus Danny, because I think that's really cool. And if that's what they want to do, I'm a fan of that. Ben Dot, I'm starting to get a little tired of them. I am. I do like their characters. I think they're good, but it just seems like they're there because they want Jimmy in this romantic triangle. It really does seem like that, and I'm not happy with that. But I do want to talk about a few things that I think the episodes did do very well. The Dandy stuff they handled perfectly. I wish they wouldn't have killed Regina off, but I was fine with them, what they did with Dandy. I thought it was very well done. I thought Dandy's plot was by far the best part of this episode. I loved everything that was going on with Dandy. That was very well done. And honestly, the stuff with Dandy really feels like it's a completely different show. It really does. It's a completely different show. They make it like so more creepy. And when you focus on the other freaks, it's just not as interesting. And I'm sorry, guys. I wish I didn't say this, but I really feel American Horror Story is going to follow the same formula where it gets stale. I really feel like in a few episodes, the show is not going to be good anymore. And I'm sorry, but it seems like it is. And the season started out so good. It seemed like this was going to be the best season of the show. And storyline-wise, yes, it has been the best season of the show. Character-wise, yes, it has been. But what they're doing with the storylines and where they're taking them, I'm a little skeptical of how they're going to finish the show and how they're going to approach it. I don't know what they're going to do. And especially, now I am definitely looking forward to the next episode, because Sister Mary Eunice, Sister Mary, whatever her name is, the devil character from Sister Mary Eunice. Yeah, that's her name. Sister Mary Eunice is coming back from Asylum. Lily Rob's character is coming back. And I'm so excited to see Lily Ray back on the show. It's going to be amazing to watch. She adds so much to the show. I've missed her. I've missed her. Get rid of Emma Roberts. Get Lily Rabe on the show. It'd be so much better. Because Emma Roberts, I think she's a good actress, but she does not belong on the show anymore. The only reason she's on the show, and honestly, guys, she was almost fired from American Horror Story. She was almost fired. And Evan Peters saved her, and I wish he didn't, because I don't like Maggie at all. I think she's pointless. Elsa had nothing to do in this episode, and it's really sad because Elsa's a really good character, and I don't like that they're not focusing on her as much, because I like her character. I actually love her character. I think she's great. I really like where they're heading with her character. Desiree and Del, I love the stuff with them. I really hope he confesses to her that he has these feelings. He needs to tell her the truth. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen there. But other than that, guys, I don't know what's going to happen in the mid-season finale. They haven't set up too much, really. it's not doing it for me. I don't know. It's not doing it for me. I'm sorry, guys. It's not. I want to say that I'm really into this season, and I am. I was really into this season. I was really into the episode last week, but this episode, I really was not all that into. It felt very slow. It felt like things, were like moving very slowly. Some of the scenes were kind of boring. The stuff with Stanley, I didn't care about. The stuff with Jimmy and Maggie, every time they cut to them, I'm like, oh, here we go again. Every time they cut to Jimmy, I'm like, they're going to involve him in another romantic plot. And literally, every scene with Danny in this episode was some sort of romance. Think about it. We saw a scene with him and Barbara having sex. Then we cut to him with all those girls that he's, in that sex business with. And then when we see him again, he's with, Ben Dot, and every single scene had to do with that. The only scene was the scene with Danny and Jimmy, which I really want to see more of. But do you guys hope for the show? I want to have hope for the show. I do. I think the show can improve on some things. They have time. They have 4 episodes left. So they can improve on some things, definitely. But this really feels like they don't know what to do with the show anymore. And honestly, I feel like next season should just be like the last one. Because I really feel like they don't know what to do with the show anymore. And this episode just didn't do it for me. I'm sorry, guys, it didn't. But let me know what you guys saw this episode. I thought it was good for the most part. It wasn't a bad episode. But I'm starting to lose interest. I am. I'm starting to lose interest in the show, and I'm going to continue watching this show because I love this show. I love American Horror Story. I love the idea of it. Dandy is what's saving the show for me. Okay, again, if Dandy was not on this show, I'd probably not be that into this show. Is this as bad as Coven? No, this is not as boring as Coven. Coven was so much more boring compared to this. This is still probably going to end up being the strongest season of American Horror Story. They just need to speed things up a little bit because we have 4 episodes left, okay? It's not like some show where they're going on a hiatus. When they come back, they're going to have 3 episodes left. So they need to pick things up, definitely. And I don't know if it's because I'm so used to this, I'm not upset that it's slow paced. I'm not upset with that at all. But they need to focus on storylines I actually care about. So they're focusing on stuff I don't care about, and I'm not happy about that at all. And that's basically my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for tonight's episode of Vampire Diaries, which is going to be a late review because I have a chorus concert tonight. I'm not going to be able to watch it live. I'm not going to be able to watch Rain live either. So those reviews will be up later tonight. I'm just telling you guys they're going to be late. But I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for Vampire Diaries. So I'll see you guys for that. Are you guys having problems with this show? Is it making you as upset as it is for me? Is it bothering you? Is it really that much of a problem? Is there anything that the show should be doing that they're not? How can they make the show stronger? I just feel the problem with the show is that they have too many characters. They don't know how to use all of them. Not everything is working. The only thing that's really working the most is Dandy, and that's really all I'm into. But yeah, see you guys in the next video. Okay, bye.